main commonality in all of these is diet and lifestyle.
Right.
Um, Even with asthma, the air quality in your home can contribute to asthma, as long as can if you live in a community where the overall air quality is very low. There's dense fog. There are a lot of pollutants in the atmosphere. That will lead to asthma. But then also, if you use conventional cleansers in your house, which uh, will over time wear away at your the your nasal passages and your vocal cords, which will lead to respiratory problems, um, stroke, lung cancer, diabetes. All those are related to high fat diet, high in carbohydrates, and bad cholesterol, and high blood pressure, and cancer too, all related to the very much beloved by black people soul food diet and fast food diet. Black people have an overwhelming love of Chinese fast food, which it has an extremely high amount of um, additives and preservatives and things that are not in the least bit healthy. There are videos on YouTube showing what happens to your and how such things as the top ramen noodles are broken down, and it just is not something that it takes a long time for the body to break it down, and what that causes is toxicity in your GI tract, which leads over time. Toxicity in your GI tract will cause severe digestive problems, which will lead to leaky gut syndrome, which it sounds really horrible, and it is, but it's not quite. What that is um, the acids perforate your intestinal wall, and over time, the nutrients leak out into your bloodstream, and so that's what can cause a wealth of um, um, allergies and uh, all sorts of things. Um, so, as a number of our ancestors, Dr. Lila Africa, he's not an ancestor, well, yeah, an ancestor, Dr. Lila Africa, Dr. Sebi, um, Dr. Jewel Pookrum have said it is very important that black people get back to their food traditions and even explore the real traditions of Southern food. Originally, Southern food was not, you know, high fat, uh, high starch, high carbohydrates diet. They ate a large amount of greens, little meat. Meat was expensive. It's still expensive. Um, and not much starch. These things are not they're not good for us specifically, us as a people, and they're not good for anybody, but they're not good for us specifically, and these are the things that are leading to the destruction of the black race. And also they can lead to others such as cancer, which there are a whole host of diseases even related to that. Fibroids, breast cancer, brain cancer, all of these things related to diet. And for black women, especially because we also love to straighten our hair, which is linked to fibroids. And while not all fibroids are cancerous, um, you will have cancer cells in your blood. So even if you get the uterus removed, the cancer cells are still in your blood, and if you don't have a doctor that knows how to cleanse the blood, the cancer cells will accumulate in another part of your body and you will get cancer. Usually it's the liver or the breast, because the liver, um, what the uterus does, if whatever is affecting the liver, it transfers into the uterus. So if you're having liver problems, you will also be having a problem with your uterus, probably fibroids. But if you have your uterus removed, then all of those toxins go directly into your liver and will lead to liver cancer.
A domino effect.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you have stroke. My grandfather, no, my grandmother died of a stroke, and my grandfather died of a combination of lung cancer, diabetes, and I think heart disease. He was not at all a healthy man, and he loved his southern food. He loved his chitlins. And my grandfather's brothers, they both died of heart attacks. So I actually have a number of family members that had at least one of these diseases, except for sarcoidosis. I don't think I've ever even heard of that one, but lung cancer, yes, stroke, yes, high blood pressure, cancer. My aunt died of cancer. Um, my great grandparents had diabetes, but they were able to stave it off because they did change their diet. But my grandfather just he wouldn't change. And I know a lot of black people. I talk to them. I try to tell them about the dangers of that soul food diet, and I know how hard it is because it was very difficult for me when I had to change my diet.
I was just about to
But
say, a lot of people can't really afford or don't really know, or like been in the vicinity of, farmers market or, or anything like that to, actually do, try to follow a certain diet plan. And
Whoa.
um, if you can grow your own vegetables, that would be best. Or at
Exactly.
the very least, if you can't grow anything, at the very least you can do is cook your own food,
right,
because then you're
let's
cutting
be
down
be
on the
real
number
about this,
of.
bro. Right? If you don't got no bed or no nice little, 10 by 10 space, at least to kind of keep something going on a perpetual rate, I mean, what you might grow from May to September only gonna be enough to what, you might, it depend on how big you get it, but if you just freezing tomatoes and trying to keep that and onions, I mean, of course anything helps. It's baby steps. I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but I want a lot of people to go ahead and get that thought out there because some people is not in a situation to even grow. Some people might be living in like a fucking studio apartment. Yeah, if it is showcase that, if it's maybe it's ways that you can probably do a little something. You know what I'm saying? At least a couple herbs or something like that on a counter space or something like that. That's I see where you.
Yeah, they have little pottery, little herbal pots, so you can just grow herbs in your kitchen. At the very least you can do, and definitely always cook your own food, because at least when you rely on an outside source for your nourishment, that gets very dangerous, because these are private industries and their sole gain is to make money. They don't care that they're producing products that have toxins in them that can lead to disease and death. So it's extremely important that you cook your own food. And one easy way to do it that I have been doing, and I was raised on this method, is to cook one big meal that lasts like the week or maybe a week and a half, depending on how good of a refrigerator you have. And then the following week, like if you make something that lasts a week and a half, and the following week you make something else that also lasts a week and a half, then you get into that rhythm and you have two or three different dishes that you can um, eat interspersed throughout the week, so it's not like you're eating the same thing every single day. But that way, you're not having to cook every single day, because I know how difficult it is, especially for people who have kids or if you have a really busy life, to cook every single day. But to cook like a big meal, a big pot of soup that lasts a week, or a pot roast that lasts a week, simple things like that, or casserole. Casseroles are great because you can cook that to last the week, and then there you have it. You come home from work, whatever, you heat that up, and boom, you have food. Your kids come home, and before you do, they heat that up and they have their food. They don't have to like sit around and stuff their face with junk food waiting for mom to come home to cook them something.
Mm. I can dig it. I mean, that's coming up with the upbringing too. I mean, but everybody probably didn't come from that, and everybody learning, everybody waking up, everybody do want new diet recipes, and Black Star is gonna be creating some things to where if we can start, putting some things, some information out there to the people, especially as far as health. I just wanted to touch on that topic because that's very important in the Black community. We don't take care of ourselves. I'm pretty sure some people can relate, but I know when I was young and dumb and out there running around, I probably ate maybe once and twice out the whole day, and that probably was from, like you say, an outside source. You know what I'm saying? Ordering some shit. You know what I'm saying? And
The
I'm just,
only thing that you do is cut out soda. That would be a good thing. Like for those of you who are used to eating fast food on a regular basis, it will probably take a while to get to a position where you're really truly eating healthy food, but at least cut down on one bad food item a month, I would say. Cut
right.
down on Coke, and then the next month cut down on potato chips, and decrease your salt. That's extremely important, because salt, similarly to sugar, salt is, you have the natural mineral salt that is derived from the ocean, but what they do is they process it where all of the minerals are processed out. So that makes it hard for your body to break down the salt. And so what your body then does is it uses the nutrients from your bones to help break down the salt and the sugar, and therefore robbing nutrients from your bones and your teeth, which is why, if you can afford it, to buy what is called uh, unrefined sea salt. Unrefined sea salt has those natural minerals in it that help to break down the salt and the sugar. And sugar too, sugar that hasn't been processed, like a one type of sugar called rapadura, but you only find it in Whole Food stores or in health food stores, and it's not cheap. Um, or honey. Honey is great because honey is a natural sweetener that if you can get a hold of honey, or if you can raise your own bees at the very least, or just minimize your sugar. If you um, drink coffee, don't drink it that often, or
Right.
try to um, drink it without sugar. Or you can see about getting dandelion root. Dandelion root is a good coffee replacement, and it's healthier than coffee. And it gives you that energy burst naturally without giving you that crashing feeling later. Then that way you can drink that without having to put sweetener in it, because it's not as strong as coffee is, and it won't lead to um, other problems later, because coffee can cause it's a diuretic, so it can cause a number of problems. I mean, in moderation it's good, but I know a lot of Americans drink like 5 cups before the afternoon. So um,
Right.
definitely minimizing sugar, minimizing your salt, and you can minimize your salt greatly simply by cutting out fast food, because salt, they put, I think I was reading something, there's 11% more salt or something in fast food than the daily dietary intake of salt. And um, that is just extremely unhealthy for you. And it's also a diuretic. It robs your muscles of necessary water, which help you to move, help you to be fluid in whatever you're doing throughout the day. Um, so cutting down on salt, cutting down on sugar, that would be a one great thing if you did that just that 1 month. You cut down on your salt, cut down on your sugar. And be careful of fruit juice because there's sugar in fruit juice. Like, unless it's a fruit juice that has the pulp in it, it's hard for the body to process out the fruit juice because there are no minerals to process those sugars. So there again, your body will rob from the bones and the teeth to process the sugars in the fruit juice. So fruit juices that have the pulp in it are better. But really, fruit juice should be drunk as more of a treat than something that you give on a regular basis. Water, one great way is water with just a slice of lemon or a slice of cucumber or any kind of fruit will help give just a little bit of flavor to water, and it actually turns the water into electrolyte water. You'll see electrolyte water being sold at these expensive health food stores, and it's really expensive. And all you need to do to make electrolyte water is put a slice of lemon in a bottle of water, and then you have electrolyte water. It's easy. But you buy water with electrolytes from the store, and you're buying a bottle, a 12-ounce bottle for like $8. Ridiculous. They have these pitchers that you can use, but it has a special little thing in it where you fill the pitcher up with water and then you put the slices of fruit in it, and it makes the whole pitcher of water flavored, so you're not drinking just blah plain water. But yeah, water with dinner is good. I know though that there are still some Americans that give milk with dinner to kids, and that is the worst thing that you can give to a kid, because when you drink milk with heavy meat, the body will first put all its energies into digesting the milk, and by the time it gets around to digesting the food, that food has been sitting in your stomach accumulating toxins, and which will lead to digestive problems. So it's just best to give just plain water, or you can put a little bit of fruit in your water to the kids. Definitely no milk, and even no juice, because the juice also there again um, gets the kid hooked on sugar, and your body puts its energies into processing out the juice, and it's not really working on digesting the meat or whatever you've prepared for dinner. Those simple things help. Snack foods, popcorn is okay as long as you make it yourself. Um, there are recipes you can find online for kale chips that are really easy to make. There are recipes online you can find to make your own Doritos, which are also easy to make. It's just you cut up tortillas, you put seasoning on it, and you bake it. That's it. You bake it until it's crispy.
Now that's real informative, sis. I appreciate you putting that out there for the people because there's a lot of things you said that I didn't know, and I'm gonna take heed of. Like I said, a lot of us, we receive information and we just throw it to the side. But like you say, even if you can just take like one bad item out of the picture per month, or and just work with it, like starting off with pop, starting off with a lot of things, it's all about.
Also, if you can get a hold of cookingware that is made of a safe, I say safe non-stick item because some of these nonstick cooking where they have the the thing that they use to line the pan has toxic chemicals in them that will break off into the food. So make sure you do your research and find the ones that do not have the that do not have I can't remember what it's called. It's this component that it's very toxic to the body. Um, or just minimize the oil that you use if you can get a hold of olive oil. If you can't, and I know that some people are going to think this sounds weird, but really, honestly, the healthiest oil, healthier than canola oil or even uh, uh,
Coconut oil.
canola oil. No, not coconut. Coconut oil is very good, but it's expensive. Healthier than canola oil or corn oil is in fact lard. Old school classic lard if you can make it yourself. It's hard though to get a hold of the fat to make it yourself, but if you live in an area where you can either buy it or make it yourself, that's healthier than using corn oil, which comes from canola oil. It's called canola oil because it comes from Canada, but it's made from rapeseed. And rapeseed is a very small seed, and when they press it, the oil has a very high viscosity, so it doesn't flow well in the pipe. So they add a product called hexane, which is a byproduct of petroleum. And then once it's flowed into the vats, then they burn it off. But not all of it burns off. So some hexane it still remains within the canola oil. And while you may not notice it, it is there and it will lead to health problems over time. Canola oil is very high in monounsaturated fats, and while monounsaturated fats are good in moderation, they over time can lead to a buildup of plaque in your arterial walls. So you you want to eat. We're gonna have to put this on the on our article, but hot natural saturated fats are actually the best because those are what help give you energy, help your body to burn off. Now you find natural saturated fats in nuts, you find it in avocado, and you find it in lard and tallow, which is the beef version of lard. Um, Lard has gotten a very bad rap over the years thanks to certain members in the medical industry that were pushing this thing about heart disease because they wanted to, well, around the 40s, this scientist, he wanted to do experiments with that heart machine. What's it called? It regulates your heartbeats. But he
Heart
couldn't,
regulator?
yes, he couldn't get the funding, so he started this whole thing um, about uh, saturated fats being evil, which led to a reduction in the production of lard, and then that's when canola oil came out. But actually, canola oil causes heart disease more so than lard does. Lard is good. Lard is healthy. Lard is good for you. But it's harder to find nowadays because, especially if you live, as I do, out west, where people are terrified of fat. You can't, it's hard to find it, and it's hard to find it organic. But even if you can't find it organic, that's still better than canola oil because, as I said, it contains hexane. Butter, if you real butter, not margarine, is good to cook with if you can find real butter that's not expensive. Um, I know they sell these sort of things down south. It's easier to find them down south than it is to find them up here, out here in the west. But or just as I said, to buy a well-made non-stick pot, non-stick skillet, where you don't have to use any oil at all.
Mm.
Stoneware, you can get the skillets that are lined with ceramic. Those are very good, and you don't have to use oil at all. You can get some online for pretty cheap on Amazon.com. You can get them used, or what they say it's used, but it's not really used. Um, or if you get cast irons, which you can get really cheap, and if you season them properly, you don't need that much oil.
Mm.
The old classic cast irons, like our grandparents and stuff used to use, those are
Yeah, I
those
understand
those.
what you're talking about. Yeah, the ones supposed to be good.
I mean, depends on where you live, because where I live at, you could get them for a fairly good price if you go to the right place.
Yeah, I got some, and I got them used, and the most expensive one I got was this great big Dutch oven, but that's it was a 9 quart, so that was like 50 something. But the rest of them were all under $20.
Cookie, what
But
about avocado oil or grapeseed oil?
avocado oil could be good, but as I said, you want to, read the ingredients to make sure it doesn't have additives. Grapeseed oil, though, there again, it's a small oil, and when it's in processing, it's high in viscosity, so they have to add the hexane to it so that it flows. It can flow
They
through the
have
pipe.
ones that are free of hexane.
If you can find one that's free of hexane, then that would be good. But
Okay.
otherwise, no. If you can find grapeseed oil, because I know that it's not easily accessible in areas. Um, um, so yeah, the healthiest two are olive oil and coconut oil, but then you have avocado oil, grapeseed oil. You want to be careful of sesame seed oil, because sesame seed oil is high in monounsaturated fat. So I
Isn't that
mean,
more like a dressing oil? Like,
they cook with it in Asian food, like Japanese food, they cook with it. They have two kinds. They have a toasted one, which is used as like a seasoning, like they just drizzle it over the cold noodles when they eat.
yeah,
And then they have the other one that they actually cook with. Um,
I've tasted. It has like it has a nice taste, but that's not something that is, I don't know, not something I would use.
but unless you're cooking Asian food, you wouldn't want to use that because it has a
Nah.
distinctive flavor.
Yeah, it tastes like oh, like nuts.
Yeah, it has a little bit of a nutty flavor. The toasted one is stronger, but it has a little bit of a nutty flavor. So if you're cooking like southern food, you definitely don't want to use that, or even anything American. If anything that's specifically not Asian, you don't want to use that.
Oh yeah. And when you say Lord, are you're oh, well, that would be stupid for me to ask, but pig, right? Pig
Huh?
fat? Pig
What?
lard?
Lard, pig fat, melted pig fat.
I thought pigs are nasty though.
The fat,
Hybrids.
the fat doesn't have anything in it. It's just fat.
Okay.
The fat it doesn't have any. It's just, as I said, it's just fat. But if you don't want to use lard, you can make tallow, which is tallow comes from cows, buffalo, uh, venison, deer, those kind of things. Grass-eating animals, grazing animals, whereas lard comes from pigs.
The sad thing is, in America, it's so horrible because the food is so commercialized and made on a fast-paced, rate. So it's really hard to find farms or just natural food. A lot of the food is GMOs or
Yeah,
chemicals,
because the
artificial.
system is designed that way,
Yeah,
for predominantly wealthy people to afford these things, and they put it in areas where you have predominantly upper class or upper middle class, upper class people, that are have access to those things. Anything that is in the at the social level of blue collar is going to be harder. You're going to have to drive farther to get healthy food.
you're right. Because when I was up in Long Island one of the times in the suburbs where my grandmother worked, we had stopped inside of a supermarket, and the way how the meat looked compared to what I was seeing to the meat in my neighborhood, it was like, wow, it looks so fresh, clean, you know.
Yeah, well, that's because, for one thing, the meat could be older in those markets that they put in the poorer urban areas. They're usually a branch of one of the bigger markets, and what they do is when the products don't sell at the bigger markets, then they sell it to the ones in the poor neighborhood. So by the time they get to the poor neighborhood, those products are like a couple of weeks old and have been, like, frozen. So it's not. That's why it looks that way. Also, because of the way the animal was raised, it's not going to be healthy. So if you can't find meat that where the animal was raised sustainably, and I mean pastured meat, which you're not going to find that if you live in an urban community, then it would be best to go vegetarian, although that can be tricky too, because in America it's hard to find the fruits and vegetables needed to replace meat. Nuts are Almonds, walnuts are a great replacement for meat. Avocados, um, beans are not as good, but if you can't find, like, replacement fruits like jackfruit, breadfruit, they're an okay substitute. Lentils are very good, though. Lentils are extremely good for you. And brown rice, no white foods, except for, obviously white eggs if you eat eggs, but no white rice, no white flour, no white sugar.
Wanted to add something onto y'all bill, uh, regarding something y'all said earlier. Um, the Bath name, Vanilla she wrote a book called Cooking Like Hot, and in that she's done extensive research in regards to um, so-called upper class black people and middle class black people, with everything being equal as far as access to great health care, uh, uh, salary, gyms, and food, not living in a food desert, and yet they still uh, suffer from things and die earlier than the white people up there. So, that's something for the family to consider as well. And, maybe look into that book to see what she got to offer.
Well, I've never read the book, but I would think that that would have still something to do with that mindset that black people have of healthy food. I know of black people who would tell me that I eat like a white person because I eat healthily, and then, which is ridiculous. But there are a number of black people who, even those that live in upper class or upper middle class communities, they still eat garbage because they're carrying that slave mentality with them into that area. So even though they make more money and they live in a nice house and everything, they still think like someone who's enslaved to this system.
All right, and a lot of us, it's weird because, oh, I mean, they just care about what things taste like, and this, I have met some people that say they hate water, they hate vegetables, they hate fruits, it's nasty, but yet they would eat something like a hot dog, and if you know how that's made, or just any fast food that you could leave out for 2 weeks and it won't even break down, you could put that in your body, and they would justify it tooth and nail. And it's like dealing with a drug addict because they are addicted to the food. They're addicted to the sugar and the high fructose corn syrup and everything else. And they really don't understand that what you put in your mouth should be medicine for your body, especially in the toxic, chemical laden soup bowl that we live in. You should be putting things in your body that's going to help fight off all the things that we're encountering, especially radiation and all that other crap. And they wonder why they're getting sick. And it's like, well, what do you eat? Well, I eat Burger King and Wendy's and pizza and Domino's and Little Caesars, and I love fried chicken, and I love me some ribs, and it's like, wow, you just eated a bunch of meat that has on a bunch of salt, that has on a bunch of artificial flavoring. Come on.
I think part of that also has to do with people trying to live a certain lifestyle, and so to live that lifestyle, they make certain sacrifices. Then they would rather sacrifice the quality of the food to be able to afford the car and the fancy TV and the furniture and all that, which is ridiculous because your body, if you don't take care of your body, you won't be there for your loved ones and you will die at an unnecessarily early age. But
Exactly.
I know this because my mother, where she works, a number of her colleagues, they talk about, oh, they can't believe that my mom can afford to eat so well, but they make more money than she does. My mom's a single mom, but she just makes certain sacrifices. She doesn't drive. We don't have cable. We don't really ever buy anything. Um, a lot of people, they spend a lot of their money on gadgets
Clothes.
that they don't need and clothes and just useless items, and then they can't afford healthy food. So it just comes down to it, what's more important, the Gucci or your health?
And unfortunately, black people are very materialistic. Like today, I had went out to the mall, and it was funny how enthusiastic my brother was. And then when we got there, we were surrounded by all these dumbass zombies that were like bumping into us, texting while walking, and acting like complete idiots while they were shopping. And I was just disgusted being there. That's why I'm gonna focus on doing my gardening and also just saving up so I could buy my own groceries. And if I need to, I would just buy my own fridge to put my stuff into. Because some of the things that are bought into the household I don't eat, such as turkey bacon and things that have preservatives and canned foods and stuff like that, especially pork and beef. I'm not really big fan of it, so I just want to change that around. I think a lot of us would rather spend some money on some Margellas or some Balenciagas rather than buying some good food. I've seen like a lot of young Bems in the hood, they like to walk around with like expensive clothes on, but yet they're eating some cheap ass Chinese food or some McDonald's or some pizza or some nonsense. I mean, the healthiest thing that you could eat out here is probably something from like the Jamaican restaurants or something like that that's actually cooked. But all that other stuff that's like quick, fast food made, not good for you. And they love to eat from the corner store too, from the Arabs. They get like a bacon, egg, and cheese with a whole bunch of nasty cream cheese on a bagel, or chopped cheese, or chicken over rice with white sauce. These are the stuff that we're eating. And you see them in there day and night, and they're smoking and drinking.
And we
It's
gotta
horrible.
also remember motherfuckers stopping at them Chinese restaurants and grabbing that motherfucking Chinese food. And we are, I think I posted an article in Black Star about the Asian motherfucker who hit a deer and threw that motherfucker in the back seat. and motherfucking the lady just so happened to follow his ass back to his restaurant, and they dragged that motherfucker in the restaurant. Luckily, she called the police, and they end up going in on that motherfucker. But how many deers have he hit or picked up off the side of the road, or possums or raccoons, and they just threw that shit in the back of the car
You know, it's
and took that
crazy.
shit and diced that shit up in the restaurant and seasoned the fuck out that shit and
A
fed.
lot of cases had happened in New York, especially in Queens, since this is where I live, where people have reported finding rat teeth and rat tails in their food. And there was a BEM that I was talking to last summer, and he was telling me how he had ate some Chinese food and then he had put it in the fridge, and then he got hungry again, so he went to warm it up in the microwave. And guess what? Guess what he saw when he opened the styrofoam container? He saw
Rat
maggots,
teeth? My
maggots,
God.
maggots. And this is the stuff that we're eating. And he said ever since then he just went complete. He doesn't eat any meat. That's what we're
That's
eating.
so disgusting. Oh my God.
That's more than disgusting. Basically, you're eating dead meat, like maggots
Fucking food.
coming out.
Yeah, yeah.